convene the meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency. And our first item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have anyone who would like to make a public comment? We have none, so we will move to our first action item, our only action item, approval of funding request from the Coos History Museum.
And I will take that. Thank you. As part of a couple of things, both the budget that the Urban Renewal Agency passed earlier this year, and then within our Front Street Blueprint, there is a call out for extending the boardwalk that runs on the east side of Coos Bay Village, along the south property border for the Coos History Museum, connecting that to the current sidewalk that's on Front Street. You have budgeted support for Front Street and/or this boardwalk sufficiently to cover the cost for this in this budget cycle. And the Front Street Blueprint calls out this piece as a connector for the work that we will do over the coming years on Front Street for pedestrian improvements. We have a very active contractor who's already on site and working with the History Museum. You may have noticed that the boat has been removed already today that was earlier damaged. And they are ready to start pouring some concrete, but we're trying to get them aligned with process. There's some permits to pull, and obviously would like your approval of this project before they move too much further. So again, this is already kind of outlined in your budget this year and within the blueprint plan. So we're hopeful that you would see support. The History Museum put forth a request of up to $250,000 to cover the cost of this project, which includes the removal of that boat.
Which has already been done.
And I think that there is also room in there to put some additional lighting in so that that will help light that area up a little bit better.
So there'll be lighting?
That's the intention. I think there'll
Okay.
be a couple more lights that will run along the railing. It will light both in the History Museum parking lot and then out into the other area that's there on the water.
All right, are there any questions or comments from the agency?
I move to
Nicole.
approve. Oops. Go ahead, Lucinda.
Sorry, Sarah. Nicole, I thought there was discussion in the past of adding some additional flagpoles, or at least one. Was that in their request?
That isn't in their request. I think they're still working on what that back, I don't know, I can't think of the right language, plaza? I think they're still working on what that looks like. I'm not sure that the current director and board have really discussed that. I think that was, maybe a historical board and director who had some discussions on the flagpole. I don't know that it's off the table. I just don't, it's not a part of this request, and I know their plaza work is not fully designed, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, just to, Councilor DeNova, and I know Sarah was on the board for a short period of time during this discussion. Might want to find out where we're at with that, because they said they were going to follow through, and they put some flagpoles in the back. Like, I'm not sure, just one or a couple, but they're for some flags that could be flown there. I know we discussed it. Anyway.
Okay.
One could argue, when we initially approved this request at the Coos History Museum, we did approve a flagpole. So they should be able to go back to that meeting where this was approved by the board 2 years ago.
Okay. And do you think that the flagpole was a piece of the boardwalk or in the plaza?
It was in the plaza.
Okay.
It was part of, from my memory at the time as the board chair of the Coos History Museum at that time, my understanding was that it was part of what the city was going to require to receive the funding.
Okay.
That being said, are we delaying action on this then until we have that question answered?
I think that's a separate action. This sidewalk's separate from that. As Sarah said, I think there are two different projects.
Okay.
But
Yes?
well, no, at the time that we approved it as the board, it was it encompassed the 250.
Oh, the flagpoles were?
Yeah.
Well, I would, what's going to happen is they're going to have the sidewalk poured before we come back and have a meeting. And so
It might be done
I would
already.
suggest that we do the sidewalk, have Nicole follow up about the flagpoles and where they would want those, or flagpole, where they would want it. And so we can keep following through on it.
Yeah.
Is everyone all right with that? I don't know.
I'm great with that, as long as you remind them, as Councillor Stevens had communicated, that that was part of the agreement to get these monies to finish the sidewalk, was to pull that flagpole up.
Yeah.
I guess I would add that in meeting with the director today and the contractor, since those original kind of conversations and that 250 was identified, things have changed in the construction world and there's some reduced costs. So that's why the lighting has become an option. And so there may be some space that's in there anyways to add a flagpole, just bringing it back up for conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
move to approve the $250,000 funding request to the Coos History Museum to fund the proposed waterfront walkway on the southern side of the museum property to bring the waterfront walkway out to Front Street, as well as removal and disposal of the boat on the southeast corner of the property.
do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the $250,000 funding request from the Coos History Museum, and I won't read that in its entirety since Counselor Stevens already did. And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Can I just make a point for the record that I am no longer on the Coos History Museum board? Yeah,
Sure.
Thanks.
All right, and that being the only agenda item that we had, we are adjourned.
Thank you. Bye, guys.